Ladies and gentlemen, all of us here today take a special interest in language. And I can see from the discussions that I've just heard around me that all of us speak a number of different languages. And one key question for linguists like us is how information technology is changing the ways that we use and perhaps abuse language. So I'd like to discuss with you language in the context of the internet. The internet has now become one of the main vehicles of language in our everyday lives, after all. Now, I don't want to tell you that, I don't need to tell you that the most widely used language on the internet nowadays is English, and in fact it has always been the most widely used language online. If you browse the web in English, you may get the impression that it is an infinite universe of information. But does one get this feeling when surfing the web in other languages too? The internet is an incredibly powerful tool, but can we only derive maximum benefit from it if we speak English? Well, way back when the internet came into existence, the first language used on it was, of course, English. And in its early years, the vast majority of the internet was restricted to this one language. For instance, by the mid-1990s, it was estimated that English made up 80% of all content. However, it seems that English is actually now starting to lose ground to other languages in terms of its share of online content. It goes without saying, of course, that there are new articles, comments and web pages that are published online every second of every single day. But it seems that other languages are flourishing online at a much faster rate. We could take Chinese as our first example here, given that it grew by an astounding 1,277% between the year 2000 and 2010. We can also see growth in the number of users for the world's other main languages. Spanish stands third in the ranking and now has 222.8 million users. Arabic is fourth in the list with 135.6 million users. So maybe we can say that access to the internet is becoming more inclusive than in the past. Possibly. But what if you don't speak one of the world's top 10 languages? Is your online experience somehow impoverished as a result? Well, if you can read and understand English, you are lucky enough to be able to browse almost 5 million articles on Wikipedia alone. And if your mother tongue is either Spanish or French, you will have access to over 1 million articles in your first language. On the other hand, if you grew up speaking nothing but Zulu, you will only have 684 Wikipedia articles to choose from. And if you want to look up information in Romani, your choice is limited to 556 pages. The relationship between language and the internet is a topic area which is being looked into more and more by policymakers and academics nowadays. The story that is emerging from this is one in which language profoundly affects your experience online. Language makes a huge difference in determining who you speak to on social media, and often it determines to a great degree the way in which you behave online. And if your language is endangered, if your language is a minority language, then your use of the internet is severely restricted. As a matter of fact, most endangered languages will never have a life online at all, since the vast majority of them have no internet users at all. And if we consider the fact that many of these rare languages exist only in their oral form, these are languages that are not written down at all, then we can see that there is no chance of these languages ever existing on the internet. Except in video form. I didn't think about that. So it seems that the internet is actually far from limitless. The reality is actually that the internet is only as big as your language. And like the world at large, the internet is pretty indifferent to the plight of minorities. The lack of linguistic diversity online is a severe hindrance for those who speak minority languages. But this is an issue that should preoccupy all of us, regardless of the languages we speak. Through the forces of globalization, a great many languages have already been lost over the past century. And it is likely that unless the right efforts are made to foster rare languages, the internet will do nothing but hasten the disappearance of rare languages in the future. It will accelerate the disappearance of these languages which are actually so precious to humanity. So all of us gathered here today will have studied more than one European language. We thus enjoy access to a vast reserve of online content. We have at our fingertips more information than we could possibly delve into in the whole of our lives, in one entire lifespan of a human being. However, as linguists, we should bear in mind the importance of linguistic diversity, and we should try to ensure that those languages that we read and hear less often do not vanish from our screens and from our web pages. The internet is increasingly our window on the world, and without the minority languages that we have, without the great linguistic diversity that we have in the world being reflected on the internet, and without the minorities who speak these languages, our world will be a much poorer place. Thank you.